a New Zealand prepper. Welcome viewers, this is part of a new channel. This is my first video on the channel. This channel is designed to provide a viewpoint, my personal opinion on what is transpiring both at home and around the world. Things that New Zealanders should be aware, but many are not. Together, we will uncover things that you should know, but probably did not know. We will cover tips on hunting and growing food. We'll cover what I think will happen here and what has happened under your nose without you knowing it, and basically anything else I feel like. I'm in the process of writing a book, but I found that I'm listening to more books instead of reading them. And if I am, maybe you are too. So if there is a post or series of videos entitled Story Time, I'll be reading this to you, one piece at a time. I will not show my face because I believe privacy is a basic human right, and we will talk more about what is happening and how things are in motion to rob you of your right to privacy as things progress. Before we begin, nothing I say here is intended as financial advice. Please do your own research and make up your own mind. Anything I say is not meant to incite any form of action whatsoever. I aim to give you information, and what you do with it is entirely up to you. Right, so are we clear? Let's move on. Today I wanted to talk to you about some banking regulations that scare the shit out of me. Why now? Well, because at the beginning of the last century a few things happened. From the beginning of, let's say 1900 to roughly 1950, there was a pandemic, a world war, most say two, but likely it's just one with an extended armistice in between to give the governments time to militarize properly, and the Great Depression. Does anyone else see a pattern? Pandemic, economic crisis, war. And then perhaps, when enough people have died and the next age is fully entrenched, we will once more have peace. Except this time, we'll probably need to see about 3 billion people dead to attain another 80 odd years of peace. Oh wait, isn't that happening now? So let's bring it back home, closer to New Zealand. Again, why? Well, because our media is a talking mouth puppet for Agenda 2030 and the food chain reaction game. Our politicians appear to be passing laws to limit our movement, hamper our buying power, and get us used to the police arresting people based on what was a social media on an app. The very mention of we may protest again gets people arrested now in this day and age. Yes, say hello to a couple of the cats behind us. They're just being cats. They like to be cats. Well, New Zealand, make no mistake, the coin is flipped. Our democracy is gone. Welcome to the technocratic dictatorship that is post-pandemic New Zealand. There is so much to say and so much to go about it, but with that said, let me ask you, how do you eat an elephant? One mouthful at a time. Today's mouthful is bail in law. I'm going to read a snippet from an article posted on April 2021. Although, from memory, I believe the bail-in laws were changed back in 2019. If you want to read this article, go to www.interest.co.nz/personal-finance/110069/BAI. New Zealand's legislative framework for bank crisis management, being largely based on statutory management, has not been meaningfully reviewed since the late 1980s. Under this framework, the Reserve Bank developed the Open Bank Resolution, or OBR, policy to manage the failure of a large bank. The proposed reforms have been informed by international experience and subsequent post-global financial crisis GFC reforms. It is therefore timely to consider enhancements to New Zealand's framework, the government says. Bail-in powers are designed to help authorities recapitalise failing financial institutions quickly, helping restore viability and capital ratios above regulatory minimums. Although there have been no bank failures in New Zealand in recent years, there have been a banking crisis in the past, and much of the finance company sector dissolved between 2006 and 2012. Statutory bail-in is a resolution tool where unsecured liabilities may be written down or converted into equity. Bank liabilities typically include deposits and bonds. The idea is the cost of a deposit taker's failure would then therefore fall on its investors and creditors rather than the public purse. The government says the Reserve Bank will have the power to direct deposit takers to maintain minimum amounts of liabilities subject to bail-in. Statutory bail-in is designed to help resolve large institutions by internalising losses in a manner that allows critical operations to continue and deposit accounts and other services to remain accessible without requiring taxpayer support. While the scope of bail-in is generally set broadly, insured depositors are often explicitly excluded, e.g. under the UK and European Union frameworks. However, those jurisdictions have adjusted their creditor hierarchy to provide a preferential status to insured depositors. And I'm not proposing to adapt such an approach here, said the Finance Minister Grant Robertson in a cabinet paper. Right, well that was a bunch of jargon, wasn't it? What does it mean? What was the narrative that it was sold to us with? Well, they said if a bank collapsed and went into liquidity, you may not get any of your money out of a bank. Or, yes. Your wages, you are a bank creditor. Most people didn't know that, but you are. You're seen as a creditor to the bank when you deposit money in. Your wages are a form of deposit, therefore you're a bank creditor. Anyone who puts money into the bank in the form of deposits or wages is seen as a bank creditor, and the only option available at the time before this legislation was passed was for a government bailout using taxpayer money. Well, what a lie that is, right? By now we know that our tax money is sent to the Reserve Bank in New Zealand, who then sends it on to the New Zealand Debt Management Office, who pays our international loan and interest and possibly some of the principal. But then at budget time we borrow the money we're going to need to spend for the next year back against the future taxes of the nation. As we borrow more, the nation's taxes must go up. And our nation's creditors can ask for things like, let's see. Let's allow rich people to purchase land and citizenship in New Zealand if they can pay enough to do so. Wait, didn't that happen recently too? Yes, it did. Which, of course, this erodes our national freedom and sovereignty, causes less land to be available for new public housing, and pushes up the cost of everything while also reducing the available supply of land, which increases the cost of housing once again. And I think if you really thought about it, that's something that I think most New Zealanders, if given the chance, would probably oppose. Wouldn't you? Anyway, let's get back on point. What does bail-in law mean for you? Simply put, if a bank now defaults and goes into liquidation, before the liquidators get there, the bank can take your money from its creditors, as in your money, and in exchange, they're going to give you shares in the bank. so the bank can become solvent. But those shares will probably go down because it's an insolvent bank that just stole money from its creditors, right? So instead of the bank being bailed out by loans that backed against the future taxes of the nation, now they can take your post-tax income as their own to get them out of this shit, essentially. Did you expect this to be the reality of 2022 as interest rates rise and a credit crunch looms? Let me know in the comments. Like and follow for more content and more things that you probably should have known that you maybe did or maybe you didn't. Well, let me know anyway. As I said, let's eat the elephant of this information one bite at a time. New Zealand Prepper here to inform you and help you to prepare. That's all.